Imagine a world where the power structures that we have known all our life start to crumble. A world where the systems we have been accustomed to begin to shift, unearthing new paradigms of existence. This may sound daunting to some, and even downright scary to others. Therein lies the resistance to humanity's evolution. In many ways, this resistance is a fear response. The fear of losing control, the fear of change, the fear of the unknown. These fears hold us back, keep us tethered to the status quo, and stunt our collective growth towards higher consciousness. Humanity's journey towards a higher level of consciousness is a journey towards evolving, transforming, and transcending the limitations that restrict our growth. Yet, this journey is often met with roadblocks, resistance, and even outright opposition. This resistance is not always overt. It's not always an open defiance of the impending change. More often than not, it's subtle, veiled under the guise of preservation of the status quo. When the status quo is challenged, those who have a vested interest in preserving it will instinctively resist. They are comfortable with the way things are. They have established power structures that they wish to maintain. They have a vision of the world that suits their interests, and they fear that any change, any deviation from this vision, would lead to chaos, would destabilize their meticulously maintained power structures. This fear of losing control, this attachment to the status quo, fuels a fear-driven mindset. It perpetuates a cycle of resistance that hinders our collective journey towards a higher level of consciousness. It restricts our ability to evolve, to grow, to transform. It holds us back from becoming the best versions of ourselves, the most enlightened versions of our collective humanity. When we think of control, we often think of it in terms of power and dominance. Those who fear losing control use various tactics to maintain their dominance over society. One of the most prevalent tactics is the proliferation of fear itself. Fear is a potent tool. It can make us irrational. It can make us compliant. It can make us resistant to change. Fear can keep us chained to the status quo, terrified of what may happen if we dare to venture into the unknown. Propaganda, misinformation, manipulation of public perception. These are all weapons in the arsenal of those who wish to maintain control. They are tools used to instill fear, to preserve the status quo, to resist the evolution of consciousness. They are used to manipulate our perception of reality, to skew our understanding of the world, to keep us tethered to outdated beliefs and systems. Consider how fear is used to shape public opinion. A narrative is constructed, a narrative that aligns with the interests of those in power. This narrative is then disseminated through various channels, reaching a wide audience. Through repetition and exposure, this narrative becomes ingrained in the public consciousness. It becomes the accepted truth, the status quo. Those who dare to challenge it are met with resistance. They are branded as troublemakers, as disruptors, as threats to the stability of society. Yet, it's important to note that this fear-driven mindset, this resistance to change, is not an inherent trait of humanity. It's a conditioned response, a learned behavior. It's a product of a system that benefits from our fear, from our compliance, from our resistance to change. It's not who we are. It's not what we are meant to be. We are not meant to live in fear. We are not meant to cling to outdated systems and beliefs. We are not meant to resist our evolution. We are meant to grow, to evolve, to transcend. We are meant to journey towards a higher level of consciousness, towards a more awakened state of being. This journey towards awakening, however, is not just about becoming more aware, more enlightened. It's also about challenging the status quo, about questioning the narratives that have been fed to us, about breaking free from the manipulations that have kept us in a state of fear and compliance. The journey towards awakening is a journey towards liberation. Liberation from the fear that keeps us chained to the status quo. Liberation from the manipulations that keep us in a state of compliance. Liberation from the control that keeps us from evolving, from growing, from transforming. It's a daunting journey, no doubt. But it's a journey that is necessary if we wish to break free from the shackles of fear and control. It's a journey that is necessary if we wish to evolve, to transcend, to awaken. It's a journey that is necessary if we wish to realize our full potential, to become the best versions of ourselves, to become the most enlightened versions of our collective humanity. And so, as we stand on the precipice of this journey, let us remember that the resistance we face is not a sign of our weakness, but a sign of their fear. Their fear of losing control, their fear of the unknown, their fear of our evolution. Let us remember that we are not alone in this journey, that we are part of a collective awakening, a collective evolution. Let us remember that the power to change, to evolve, to transcend, lies within us. And let us embark on this journey, not in fear, but in courage, not in compliance, but in defiance, not in resistance, but in acceptance. The journey towards awakening, towards higher consciousness, begins now. It begins with us. Those who resist the evolution of humanity don't do it arbitrarily. There's an agenda, a reason behind their resistance. They are heavily invested in the status quo, in the current power structures, in the existing systems. These systems, these power structures, afford them privileges, advantages, and control that they are not ready to relinquish. The status quo, for these individuals, represents order, stability, predictability. It signifies control over the masses, dominance over society. It provides them with a platform to exercise their influence, to implement their vision, to maintain their grip on power. These individuals use the status quo as a shield, as a fortress, to protect their interests, to safeguard their power. But just as they are invested in preserving the status quo, they are equally invested in resisting any change that threatens it. They view change, evolution, awakening, as threats to their dominance, as challenges to their control. Any deviation from the status quo, any shift in the power structures, any transformation in societal norms, is met with resistance, with opposition, with hostility. They fear that change will unravel the structures they've built, will disrupt the order they've established, will challenge the dominance they've secured. This fear of change, this fear of losing control, drives them to employ tactics to maintain their dominance, to preserve their power, to resist the evolution of humanity. One of their primary weapons is fear itself. They instill fear in the masses, perpetuate fear of the unknown, fear of chaos, fear of change. They use fear as a means to maintain control, as a tool to manipulate, to divide, to oppress. Fear, in their hands, becomes a potent weapon, a shield against the impending evolution, a fortress against the awakening consciousness. They also employ misinformation and propaganda to shape public perception, to control the narrative, to manipulate the masses. They distort facts, twist truths, and fabricate stories to instill fear, to cause division, to provoke hostility. Misinformation and propaganda become their tools of control, instruments of manipulation, devices of oppression. They use these tactics to keep us in a state of fear, to keep us divided, to keep us oppressed. They want us to remain compliant, to remain passive, to remain under their control. They manipulate our perception, our understanding, our consciousness, to maintain their dominance, to preserve their power, to resist our evolution. Recognizing these tactics, these manipulations, these control mechanisms, is a crucial step towards awakening, towards reclaiming our power, towards breaking free from their control. It's not an easy task, recognizing these tactics. It requires awareness, vigilance, discernment. It requires us to question the narratives we've been fed, to challenge the beliefs we've been conditioned to accept, to confront the fear we've been manipulated to feel. This recognition, this awareness, this discernment is the key to reclaiming our power, to regaining our autonomy, to liberating ourselves from their control. When we recognize the fear tactics, the misinformation, the propaganda, we can begin to see through their manipulations. We can start to challenge their narratives. We can start to reclaim our power. When we reclaim our power, we begin to shift the balance. We begin to disrupt the status quo. We begin to challenge the power structures. When we reclaim our power, we can resist their control. We can defy their dominance. We can counter their manipulations. When we reclaim our power, we pave the way for our evolution, for our awakening, for our liberation. This liberation is not just about breaking free from their control. It's also about breaking free from the constraints of the status quo, from the limitations of the existing systems, from the shackles of fear and manipulation. It's about asserting our autonomy, our sovereignty, our power. It's about recognizing our worth, our potential, our ability to evolve, to transform, to transcend. This liberation is about awakening to our true nature, to our inherent power, to our unlimited potential. It's about realizing that we are not mere pawns in their game, that we are not powerless in the face of their control, that we are not victims of their manipulations. We are powerful beings, capable of change, capable of evolution, capable of transformation. As we awaken to our power, to our potential, to our ability to change, we become catalysts for evolution, agents of transformation, harbingers of awakening. We start to disrupt the status quo, to challenge the power structures, to defy the control mechanisms. We start to pave the way for a new era, an era of freedom, an era of empowerment, an era of awakening. Let's remember that the status quo is not a permanent state. Power structures are not immutable. Control mechanisms are not invincible. They can be challenged, they can be changed, they can be dismantled. And it starts with us, with our awakening, with our liberation, with our evolution. As we awaken to our power, as we reclaim our autonomy, as we liberate ourselves from their control, we move closer to our evolution, to our transformation, to our transcendence. We move closer to a world where fear is no longer a weapon, misinformation is no longer a tool, manipulation is no longer a tactic. We move closer to a world where the status quo is no longer a fortress of control, but a platform for change, a catalyst for evolution, a harbinger of awakening. This change, this evolution, this awakening is not just possible, it's inevitable. And it begins with us, with our awakening, with our liberation, with our evolution. It begins now. The resistance to evolution, the preservation of the status quo, and the manipulative tactics employed by those in power are more than mere obstacles in our path. They have served as catalysts triggering a fundamental shift in human awareness, heralding what we refer to as the awakening of consciousness. This isn't a sudden, abrupt change, but rather a gradual, steady process unfolding within each one of us, transforming our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. As we step into this awakening, we begin to perceive our reality in a new light. The narratives that we've accepted as truths, the belief systems we've held on to so tenaciously, the values we've firmly embraced, everything comes under scrutiny. No longer do we accept information at face value. No longer are we swayed by fear-inducing propaganda or manipulated by distorted narratives. We begin to question, to probe, to investigate. We start to discern truth from deception, clarity from confusion. We expand our perspectives, open our minds, and liberate our thinking from the confines of established norms and expectations. There's a resurgence of critical thinking, an insatiable quest for knowledge, a relentless pursuit of truth. This is the power of the awakening consciousness. It dismantles the fear-induced conditioning, shatters the illusions of deceit, and breaks the chains of manipulation. It empowers us to reclaim our autonomy, our sovereignty, our power. It liberates us from the external influences that seek to control our thoughts, our actions, our lives. The liberation from manipulation is more than an individual endeavor. It's a collective journey towards a higher state of consciousness, a more enlightened society, a more equitable world. It's about taking back control of our lives, our societies, our world from those who seek to divide us, oppress us, control us. This liberation doesn't come easily. It demands courage, resilience, persistence. It requires us to challenge the deeply ingrained beliefs, to confront the uncomfortable truths, to face the fear of the unknown. But as daunting as this journey may be, it's a journey worth embarking upon, for it paves the way to a new era of freedom, collective empowerment, and unity. As more individuals awaken to their inherent power, the forces of manipulation begin to lose their stronghold. The fear tactics lose their potency, the misinformation loses its credibility, the propaganda loses its impact. The collective consciousness rises, the power structures shift, the status quo crumbles. Despite the resistance, despite the fear, despite the manipulation, the evolution of humanity continues unabated, unstoppable. We begin to realize that we're not mere spectators in this grand theater of life, but active participants shaping our individual and collective destinies. We learn to harness our inherent power, employ our innate wisdom, and exercise our sovereign rights. We truly begin to live, not as pawns in a game of power, but as creators of our own reality. Awakening to our true potential, liberating ourselves from manipulation, and evolving beyond our current state of consciousness is not just a possibility, it's an inevitability. It's the next step in our collective journey, the next phase of our societal evolution, the next chapter in the human narrative. We stand at the precipice of a new era, an era of awakening, an era of liberation, an era of evolution. We've only just begun this journey. There's a long road ahead, filled with challenges to overcome, truths to uncover, and potentials to realize. But we march on, undeterred, for we now understand that our evolution, our awakening, isn't just about us, it's about humanity as a whole. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope it has given you some food for thought. If you find this content valuable and want to participate in this journey of awakening and evolution, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this message with others. We're all in this together, and we can all contribute to the awakening of consciousness and the evolution of humanity. Let's dare to evolve, dare to awaken, and dare to transcend. Together, we can create a brighter, more enlightened world.